8th grade unit on geometry. So in this last unit, there are several key things that we're going to be looking at. It's analyzing and composing translations, reflections, and rotations. You'll understand what that means. Understanding the difference between similar and congruent figures, dilations, angles, lines, and transversals, and we'll look at the Pythagorean theorem. And so, the big idea that I want you to sort of walk away with from this unit is that geometry is the mathematics of points, lines, curves, angles, and surfaces. Think how each one is related to the other to make patterns. The essential question for this unit is, how can you show that two figures are either congruent or similar to one another? And how can you use the Pythagorean theorem to solve problems? So I want you to take a moment. I want you to look at these two shapes. Are these two shapes congruent? You've heard about congruency, and so let's discuss it. And what you end up noticing if you look at each line segment of this triangle, that they are the same length. So we could measure it. We could get our ruler out and we can measure this. And then we could see that every line is the same and that the angles are the same. We could measure that as well with our protractor. So our next concept that we will be looking at is rigid transformations. We'll be looking at translations, and translations is just what you think of when you're translating Spanish to English, English to Spanish. You're translating one language into another language. Here, we're translating one shape and we're moving it to another location. Translation. And you'll be able to do that as we move through this unit. Two other rigid transformations are a rotation, where we rotate this shape around this point, this D prime, and then we get this shape here. Well, both of these shapes are congruent. They're just being rotated 90 degrees. So just like you take a picture on your camera and it is in the wrong direction and you just keep rotating it until you get to where you want it on your camera to upload it to Snapchat or whatever. And is it the same? Yes. So it is a congruent picture. It's just that you have changed the orientation of it, but it's the same picture. And so we're going to be looking at reflection. What does it mean to reflect? So just like if you're looking in the mirror and you see your reflection, that is what we're going to be looking at with shapes. We're going to get the reflection of a shape. So this is the original shape, and then this is the reflection of that shape. So just like this is the mirror where this line is, and that's what you'll start to understand and be able to do through this unit. Another transformation that is different than a rigid transformation, and as we go through this unit, you'll find out why they're different, but it has to do with one of the characteristics between a dilation. With this dilation, are these two shapes congruent? Well, you can see clearly that this square is smaller than this square. So we already know that they're not congruent. But what does it mean to dilate? So it's getting bigger. So I don't know if you ever got your eyes dilated at the eye doctor, but he increases your pupil so that he can see into, or she can see into your eyes. And so we'll see the purpose of dilation, how to dilate how to make a dilation of a shape as we go through this unit. So now take a look. Andrew draws two figures shown on a coordinate plane. How are the two figures alike? How are they different? How do you know? So we'll be able to look at these triangles. We'll be able to solve problems like this using the Pythagorean theorem. We will be able to rotate these shapes and see that they are congruent. So we'll have plenty of real world application so that when you leave this unit, you see how much geometry applies to our everyday life. So, welcome to the wonderful world of geometry.